Hey everyone, Ladislas Maurice from thewanderinginvestor.com. So today I'm in Cali in Colombia. So Cali is Colombia's third largest city, which very few people have heard about 2.5 million people. And I'm here looking at real estate investment opportunities. Real estate here is incredibly cheap. So you can get near prime real estate for significantly less than $1,000 a square meter. And the rental yields, if you use the right strategy, can be quite significant. So here we are in a neighborhood called Versailles. It's near the entertainment district in Cali, so one of the better districts for sure in the city. And we're gonna go check a large apartment, a large 3-bedroom apartment in this building right here. So I have to say that going around with a camera and some sort of stick in Cali is not the best idea. So I'm definitely not filming as much as I would like to, especially with all the motorcycles. Someone could just come and snap it away from me. Cool. So we're gonna go with Patrick, who's from Denmark, who helps manage real estate investments for people. And he's gonna show us the apartment right there on floor number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up there in this building that is for sale. So Cali, like most cities in Colombia, is very car driven. So good to see that there's underground parking here. There is a gate at the entrance, which is very important. And there is even private security. So in here, there's a man, all the cameras, turns out it's a woman. Cute little entrance.
Hola, ¿cómo están? ¿Vamos por el ascensor? Sí, ahí están los 601. Gracias.
All right, so we'll go quickly through the apartment. Again, I don't want to spend too much time just showing apartments and stuff. I'm more interested in the investment thesis. So what's interesting here is that most of these nice apartments in Colombia, or larger apartments in nice areas, have maids' quarters. So the kitchen clearly needs renovation. It's got a dining room. I'd probably break this wall. Living room with a balcony. The view, so really downtown. Another room here, and then here you have 3 bedrooms. So essentially 1 bedroom here, bathroom, bedroom number 2 in here, and then here's the master bedroom with a walk-in closet, pretty big. So clearly the apartment needs some work. I mean, the fundamentals are fine, but it just needs it. It definitely looks outdated. But the price, and this is where it gets interesting, it is going for $94,000. So I've converted it into from pesos, so $94,000 at the current exchange rate for 160 square meters. Great, so Patrick, thank you very much for your time today. So Patrick is from Denmark. He's been living here for, you were saying, 8 years, and he is soon to become Colombian. Congratulations, Patrick.
Thank you very much.
Tell us about this apartment, because you've been in real estate now for 8 years. You manage a lot of Airbnbs, a few long-term properties as well, and you help investors essentially crack the Cali markets. Actually, this building right across here that we saw that was under renovation, the whole 7 floors, that's one of your projects, the entire building. So my first impression when I come to such an apartment is that the location is really good. The building is relatively decent, and the price per square meter and price per square foot are quite incredible. So sure, the apartment needs some renovations, but we're sitting at less than $600 per square meter, $54 per square foot, and in a growing city of 2.5 million people in the best areas. This is incredibly good value. I'm quite excited when I see things like this, but now the question is, what's the actual yield? Because clearly this is a deep value play, but do I get interesting yields?
Okay, so there are different markets obviously that you can attract. You can go for the locals unfurnished, you can go for the locals furnished, or you can go for the foreigners furnished preferably. And that's the market that I am in, and that's where we get the best deals. You and I were running down the numbers on this building, and one of the particular challenges in this building is that it has an HOA fee, and it has an HOA organization. There's a homeowners association, and they prevent you from doing short-term rentals. So that obviously is going to, reflect itself on the yield, and you have a fairly high, because this is a building of 7 or 8 stories, I think. There's only 1 apartment per floor. You have an elevator, and all of this elevates the monthly maintenance fee, which is quite high, which will be reflected in these apartments. But I do think, we run down the numbers and we'll do it below in this video, I do still think that you can get a net return, meaning after fees, after renovation, after furnishing, after utilities and so forth, in the 4 to 5% range on this particular property. People do tend to get better returns, and we certainly do in some of our projects that are doing 10 to 12%, but it's also where we have the full building. We have the autonomy to do whatever we want. We can get the tourist license that is required in order to do the short-term rentals and operate legally, which Airbnb, by the way, is going to require starting in the new year. But saying that it's an unbeatable deal for about $600 a square meter, if you're looking for deep value, yeah, absolutely. And you are 2 blocks away from the Sheraton Hotel, you're 1 block away from a new 12-story hotel that they're building, you're 2 or 3 blocks away from the Granada Entertainment District, which is pretty much 10 blocks of pure restaurants and nightlife and so forth. So, and then the Chippy Chappy Shopping Center, which is one of the most prestigious malls, if you would call it this, is very, very close by as well. So it's a good location. You're about 30, 40 minutes away from the airport, and it's a walkable area, it's very green.
You were explaining that, so the local long-term market, if you put this and rent it to locals unfurnished like this, you'd get gross maybe 3 to 4%.
Yeah, that's obviously without being renovated. And in this particular case, we were just told by the realtor that the HOA fees in this building is a little bit high, which would probably affect your return. So you can obviously buy more expensive, and you can get swimming pools and gyms and gated communities and so forth. But I mean, then you're paying the same price as you would in many of the other big cities around Colombia.
Yeah, because if you go in the south of Cali, there's this whole area that's very green, and everyone lives behind these barbed wires, and people have swimming pools, etc. So very much like in South Africa, essentially. So very comfortable places. But you'd be renting to the local market, and that's not actually interesting. So you're saying the play is really going on to Airbnb and the midterm. We were having a beer yesterday, and you were explaining how Airbnb is increasingly complicated because of new restrictions, whereby to be able to put your apartment on Airbnb, you need the approval of 70% of landlords in the building.
Of the homeowners, yeah.
Of the homeowners.
Building. In order to change the HOA regulation and allow to do short-term rentals, then we've that changed. You can register it with the Chamber of Commerce, and then you can get your license to operate for tourists.
Which is nearly impossible because most owners just refuse. The way to go around this is either to buy a whole building,
or a whole house.
Or to do mid-term rentals. And that's what you were referring to when you're saying you can get 4 to 5% net. You rent between 1 month to 12 months.
Yeah, anything longer than 30 days is considered long-term in Colombia.
Okay.
By the law, put it that way.
So who's the target market?
So for us, our market is comprised of different segments. We are in the part of town where most of the entertainment is, so we get a lot of people that are coming for the salsa dancing, for chasing girls, if you want to call it that, or chasing a partner. And we also get people that are just looking for an honest relationship. We do have people, expats, or they're not even expats, they're people that live in the United States most of the time, but they have their partner here and they haven't been able to secure visas, so they come and they travel back and forth on a very regular basis. We get a lot of medical tourism. Colombia is very famous. Just in Cali last year, there were 50,000 medical procedures. Maybe that was a year before COVID, but lots of medical procedures, plastic surgery.
A lot of private hospitals around here.
Lots of private hospitals. Cali, Valle de Lili is rated number 3 hospital in all of Latin America. Lots of bilingual doctors. They're very well educated. They're very good at what they do. So, and we get them for dental work as well. Very, very popular to come here for dental work. And then we have digital nomads, people that have figured out that they can live anywhere and work with their computer. And they don't tend to bounce around the same way that the backpackers or normal tourists do. They usually settle for 1 to 3 months in one location, and then they jump to another location and explore that. And they combine that with dance classes, Spanish classes. And in the surroundings here, I mean, Cali is famous for its mountains, for its jungle, for its beautiful rivers, waterfalls, bird watching, downhill biking, paragliding, whale watching when the season's on is right out there by the Pacific coast. It's a big mix we attract here.
As Medellin becomes more and more popular, there's increasingly a spillover of people who say, oh, Medellin is too discovered, so then they come over to Cali. And real estate prices here are easily, half of what they are in Medellin. From a lifestyle point of view, that's a different question. When people mention Cali, they think of crime. To be honest with you, when I was going around, I was a bit worried about taking my phone out, etc., and I kind of stick out like a sore thumb. So what would you say to people who say, oh, Cali's too dangerous? As an investor, there's a lot of crime.
Yeah. So it's a big city, and there are certain parts that you don't have to go, and you shouldn't go, just like there are certain parts of New York or Chicago that, I'm sure Johannesburg and Cape Town, and you shouldn't go these places. I mean, this is a country and a city that's divided between the people that have and the people that don't. I will say I've been here for 8 years personally, and while I've been scammed in a business deal, I've never been robbed personally. So there's certain parts of the city, if you avoid them, then you avoid about 90% of any potential crime. And it's worked for me. Like I said, I've been here for a long time. I've never had any situations. Have I had, potential scares? Yeah, but it's mostly been myself, freaking around when people knock your window and really they're just asking for money. They're not necessarily trying to rob you. And if you move in the areas where most of the affluent part of the populations are, then you would most likely avoid trouble. Just in the last year, we've had 800 reservations at our properties. And I think one of our guests had her phone, she was standing there waiting for an Uber with her new iPhone in her hand, and a guy swung by on a motorcycle and he snatched it out of her hand. So it wasn't anything violent, it wasn't, of course it's traumatic, and we know how delicate it is to lose your phone, but that's basically the only situation we've had in the last 12 months or so.
That's not too bad. And then again, people need to make the difference between someone snatching your phone on the street and the investment case for a city, because those are often two very different conversations that have nothing in common with each other. Can you tell us, I'm very curious about, let me grab the phone. Can you tell us a little bit about your project here? So Patrick helps investors find investment properties here in Cali and also lifestyle properties for people who want to stay here. But for one of his investors, he actually bought this whole building where there's the construction going. How many floors, Patrick?
There are 8 stories there, and we have a garage underneath with parking for 9 vehicles, and there's an elevator, and there's a little lobby down in front. So we're changing the layout a little bit, and we're ending up with 6 one-story units, and then we're going to have a 2-story penthouse with a jacuzzi, 3 bedrooms, and so forth.
Cool. So like you're doing luxury. How much per square meter did you pay for this whole building?
We paid about $340,000. Actually came to about just over $30 a square foot, or just over $300 per square meter.
Cool. So I think this is really interesting because we just saw this apartment here for a bit less than $600 a square meter. But when you buy a whole building, you're looking at a bit over $300 a square meter. That is absolutely insane. We saw yesterday, we were walking around town, and on the main plaza in town, there is a historical building for about $300 a square meter. So the way I'm looking at the market is, sure, as an individual investor, you buy a unit, you can get a decentish yield. Actually, if you invest for $150,000 or more, you can get long-term residency, which can lead to citizenship after 5 years with minimal time on the ground. That'll be another discussion that I'll have in another video. The numbers for entire buildings, in many cities, entire buildings come at a premium. Here, they come at a discount. How much per square meter is the full renovation going to cost your investors?
So we estimate right now that renovated and furnished, we're going to be just at about $1,000 per square meter. But that is including a complete gut job of the building. It's putting in noise-resistant windows, it's changing all of the plumbing, all of the electrical, all of the carpentry, all of the floors, all of the bathrooms, all of the kitchens, moving walls, changing the roof, renovating the elevator, upgrading the electrical plant, making a water reserve tank, and state-of-the-art Wi-Fi system, and a complete furniture and appliance package.
So all in this project, how much are your investors investing?
That one's going to be just about $1.2 million.
Remind me the amount of apartments.
It is 6 right now, we're turning it into 7.
Okay, so 7 apartments, including one that's like 2 stories, right?
Yes, a penthouse,
with
penthouse.
With a jacuzzi, etc. And they all have 2 to 3 bedrooms.
The bottom one is 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and then from the 2nd to the 6th floor, they're going to be 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom, and then the top floor is going to be 5 bathrooms, 3 bedrooms. And we could have added more bedrooms to the top floor, but we decided not to do it because it does attract a different crowd. When you have a lot of bedrooms, it attracts people that want to party, they want to invite all their friends, and it kind of inspires trouble. So we decided that was a conscious decision not to add more bedrooms. So we decided to make big and spacious bedrooms instead.
The way I look at this is an incredible deal. $1.2 million or 1 million euros for a whole building like this, renovated the way you want it renovated, luxury, the whole building's yours, there's no homeowners association, no one messing with you, you do whatever you want, you own it completely, and you're paying less than $1,000 a square meter in a city of 2.5 million people in one of Latin America's most dynamic economies. Sure, it's got its own set of issues, but from a diversification point of view, this is really, really interesting. What net yields are your investors expecting from this? Because you manage all of it. You don't just help people buy real estate here, you also manage the properties for them. Once they've paid your fees, property tax, whatever, everything before government income tax, what's the net yield that the investor is projecting, that you have committed to your investor?
We base our projections on a 65 to 70% occupancy. What we're seeing right now, and it's quite incredible, is that we've been doing closer to an 85 to 89% occupancy for the last couple of months. If we are on the conservative side, we're looking 8 to 10% net, and if we do very well, we can do somewhere from 10 to 12% net pre-tax, obviously.
I was looking at Patrick's software yesterday. We're going through the numbers, and yeah, like the occupancy rate is 85%. It's quite incredible. At the end of the day, this apartment that we saw, sure, 4 to 5%, not bad at all. But the real deals, if you have money, is buying these whole buildings here in Cali. And in many ways, it's inflation proof. There is very little leverage in Colombia in real estate. The downside is actually quite limited. So if you're worried about inflation, if you're worried about the fact that real estate in Western countries is increasingly become a financial asset as opposed to being a real asset, then places like Colombia offer that real estate function that many investors are looking for nowadays. So yeah, if I had €1 million sticking around that I wanted to invest in real estate in a diversified way, honestly, this would be very interesting, and it's great cash flow as well. I'll add Patrick's contact information below in the description if you want to get in touch with them, if you're looking to potentially invest here in Cali. Great, Patrick, thank you so much for your time. Cheers.